I know the Stuytown Diner in Lower Manhattan, and my buddy is the owner, and I paid like $6 for oatmeal. I was like, oatmeal? I mean, it was something crazy. And by the way, I'm not blaming him. He is
Correct.
facing inflation. He has to make a margin, a profit margin, so he can live his life with his family. And he's not making that big of a profit margin. So there are two stories here. There's one story that is about inflation, and it's intractable. Once it starts, it's hard to get rid of. It has been coming down. I think the fact that that inflation gauge you're citing, 2.8 or 9%, is the PCE. Do you have this is the Fed's.
Don't get all crazy on us here.
But this is the Fed's favorite
they
gauge.
They strip out food and energy.
Right, but
like, what is
this? I know. This is the Fed's favorite gauge, has gone up, but it's still below 3. So what Jerome Powell is going to say by June, if things stay stasis in this sort of area, he can lower rates. Interest rates on the short end a little bit, 25 basis points. So he lowers them in June, saying, and take a wait and see attitude.
Is that a prediction? You think they're actually going to cut rates this year?
Yeah, I think they're going to cut them in June. And by the way, I only know that because Larry Fink, who's the head of BlackRock and the best Fed watcher I know, believes that. And so now things might change. You might see other numbers, but there's two stories here. There's the story of the fact that Wall Street is going to love that cut, and that's why you see stocks keep going up. Main Street Americans who don't have a lot of money, they are not in the markets every day, they are getting screwed here. I mean, these prices, inflation rate might be coming down a bit, But
prices are not. But prices are not.
Are still
and
high.
That is why Jerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal was sitting in that chair a couple weeks ago, and he made the prediction that not only does he think that rates are going to have to stay the same this year, he thinks they might actually have to raise rates
maybe later
at the end of the year.
I think if you know Jerome Powell and you're betting, now this is if you're playing in the markets, different audience. The betting is that he lowers them in June because he always telegraphs this, and he's still saying we're on the course. But after that, all bets are off.
However, he was speaking today, and I'm told this is incredibly compelling. But he was speaking today, and he did talk about it could be too soon. Listen.
If we reduce rates too soon, there's a chance that inflation would pop back and we'd have to come back in, and that would be very disruptive. That would not be a good thing for the economy. We will not be making decisions particularly about political calendars or anything like that. It's tremendously important that people understand that about the Fed and that we're working to serve all Americans, not any particular set of Americans or political parties or leaders.
This is an assurance that they're independent. They're not going to try to lower rates right before the election to prop up the economy and, the stock market. So you can weigh in on that.
I'll never get my 20 seconds of my life back after listening to that. Just so you know.
He's a Federal Reserve chair. Come on. All right.
I know. It's not Chris Rock.
This is a group of very compelling people, guests on this program, having a very serious discussion that now I want to add you to the list about whether or not this 2% target the Federal Reserve keeps targeting is realistic or not. Listen.
I don't think the Fed's going to cut their target rate this year.
They aren't even close to the 2%. They shouldn't be trying to control interest rates. If they did 3 cuts this year, most people would think that was a political gesture trying to get Biden reelected.
The Fed has to get off their 2.5% policy target. I don't think we should surrender on the 2% target, which we're not anywhere close to.
And Charlie Gasparino says.
By the way, just so you know, some of them were not speaking about the 2% target. They were talking about whether they would cut rates. They weren't saying.
That's true. So what do you think? Should 2% be?
Which one do you want me to answer?
Should 2% be the target?
I think it should be the target, and I think we should, because listen, here's the thing: the stock market may hate it. Your buddies at the CME may despise the fact that we're raising rates, but average people get screwed on inflation. It's the most pernicious tax on the working class. And I'm only kidding about your buddies, by the way, but they're my buddies too.
Hey, I don't think it's supposed to be an insult.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, there's a Wall Street crowd that likes the low rates. Obviously, we wouldn't be having records on the Dow and the S&P. And then there's my old man who's a construction worker who doesn't make a lot of money, and he gets screwed when he goes to the gas pump. I mean, it's just we can't have inflation. Yeah. By the way, societies destabilize when there's inflation at every turn.
Absolutely.
And I don't
By the way, half of people blame corporate price gouging. They think people are just setting these prices high.
Well, that's stupid.
And about half think it's because of too much government spending, which most economists are in consensus that's what's causing
let's be real clear. It's too much government spending, but it's federal government spending, fiscal policy, and loose monetary policy that Jerome Powell created.
Great to have you here today, Charlie.
Okay.
I hope you have a